I'm Jim Burroway. I attended the Love One Out ex-gay conference in Phoenix in February of 2007. I went because Focus on the Family often invites gay activists to go to their conferences so that we could see for ourselves what they're all about. So I did.
And so every single morning, this is a ritual for me. I wake up and I say, "Dear Lord, I can't make it today without you. I choose to deny what comes naturally to me." And I live a life of denial. You have to expect, as you're coming out of homosexuality or whatever you're coming out of, to live a life of denial. We're all going to struggle with something until the day we die. And if we think that we can get up one day and decide we don't have to pray about it anymore, then we're mistaken. So expect a life of obedience. Expect a life of denial.
When I attended the Love One Out conference in Phoenix, the first thing I noticed that probably 2/3, maybe even as many as 3/4 of the people who attended were parents of gays and lesbians. That there were very, very few people there who were actually themselves struggling with homosexuality, which is how they put it. But there was one workshop. It's conducted by Alan Chambers. He's the president of Exodus International, and it was. The title of the talk was Hope for Those Who Struggle. And in that talk, he talked about how important it was to have realistic expectations for change. He started off with probably the most unrealistic expectation, which was the story of Abraham and his wife Sarah, who didn't have their first child until they were, I think, 100 years old or some ridiculous age. He held that out as, you know, weird things can happen if you really trust in God and He promises this to you. But he also kind of said, you know what, it may not. It really may not. He really kind of put it into context and said that for some people there will always be struggle. And he talked about his own daily struggle. He has to get up every morning and pray, and he struggles. This is perfectly in line, of course, with the evangelical theology. Christ said, "Take up your cross and follow me." And this was a very important part of the message, that we have crosses to bear. It was the only example of the whole conference that I saw, what seemed to me a realistic expectation for, you know, the importance of setting realistic expectations. Because when you heard Melissa Fryrear talk about people that she knew that changed pretty quickly, or Joseph Nicolosi talk about all the, you know, how relatively easy it sounded like his clients changed, and of course Nancy Hesh praying away her daughter Anne Hesh's lesbian affair, as she put it, with Ellen DeGeneres. It was pretty amazing. Unfortunately, those other talks that I mentioned, they were in front of the whole audience, 800, maybe 1,000 people there. Alan's talk was maybe in front of 75, 80. I think everybody in that auditorium should have heard his talk instead of those select few.